Hello everyone, I'm here at Cave Comics with Jerry Ordway.
Hello.
Jerry, how's it going today?
Good. Really good.
Awesome. So, last time I saw you, it was during the Action 1000 signing here.
Right.
I wanted to get your thoughts on just the event of Action 1000.
Well, I think it was really like it felt like it had some kind of cultural significance. At least a lot of people seem to still, feel that. It's pretty amazing to any book to hit that number. I mean, it's not even just thinking about the history of how many years it was, but people like those even numbers, and that's a pretty big one. For continuous publication, that's pretty amazing. There's not a lot of stuff beyond like some big newspapers or big magazines that make it to 1,000 issues. But I thought it had felt like it had some cultural significance.
And what are your thoughts on now Bendis taking over the reins of the Superman comics?
I think it's good. I mean, he seems to be somebody that people love and they also hate. I mean, that happens when I think, if you're doing your job in a way, you're going to annoy some people and you're going to please some people too. But people are buying the books. So I saw the sixth issue finally came out. I was waiting to read it because I wanted to read it all together. Because sometimes you can read one and go, oh man, they didn't do this, this, and this. But it's easier to kind of take them all in at once. But I think it's Superman's had like a up and down, treatment over the years. Some people get it, some people don't. So I'm hoping that when I read it, I enjoy it. But it's a great character, and it's hard. And it's easy enough to screw up, I guess. But it's if you understand the basic concept, I think, especially nowadays, I think you can, still reinforce that truth, justice, and the American way without having it be a nationalistic, mantra or something. You know what I mean?
Definitely. What are your thoughts on the DC comic world now? Because they went into Rebirth, and now Rebirth has kind of settled out, and now they're kind of going with this newer wave. They changed some of the artists and writers.
Right.
What are your thoughts on the DC comics right now?
I pick up stuff here at Cave every so often. I come every weekend or every Wednesday, and I always wind up buying something. But I kind of like the fact that they tried some new books, like the was it Damage?
Damage?
And,
yeah.
The other one was, I keep wanting to say Revolver, but it's not Revolver, is it? There's a female silencer, I guess. I like stuff like that because I think that's them at least trying something a little bit different from, whatever your standard superhero fare, And they're putting, at least they've also put good teams on these things. So it's not like, okay, here's this guy sitting in the corner, he's not doing anything, hey, do this,
Yeah.
So, I think you still need to reach across and give people something different, and you're not gonna find out if you got the next, wave of whatever it is. Some premise could be the next cutting edge thing that sells. Back in the '80s, no one expected Punisher or, Deathstroke or whatever those characters kind of fit in that time frame. But at least they tried them to find out, And if you just do the same thing, you're not going to find out what maybe people are looking to buy that might be different,
And other recent news in the comic world, we learned about the passing of legend Steve Ditko. Wondering what your thoughts were on him and if he had any impact on your career.
Oh, he was I grew up with John Romita Sr. Spider-Man, but since those books all had footnotes to previous stories, I was able to find back issues, and I really came to respect that Ditko. This was a guy who had his point of view. Some people disagree with it, but hey, everybody's got a right to their private views, and it never impacted anybody. But he was a writer and an artist. A lot of times they would have somebody else maybe dialogue something because he wasn't comfortable, or for whatever reason, maybe he was just on to the next book. But that was a big thing to me, to know that one guy could do more than one job. Because, in '67, when I first discovered this stuff, the Marvels, you didn't really get a sense that there were writer-artists around. But Ditko and Kirby had kind of been writer-artists, just, at that point they had been working with Stan Lee. So that was a big thing. The other big thing about Ditko is that he worked up until his death, really. He was still doing books that he would offer through Kickstarters and things like that. that's pretty cool to be 90 years old and still have stories to tell. That's an amazing thing.
Definitely.
He could have sat back like C.C. Beck or even Alex Toth and just started writing diatribes, whatever. But he just kept working, and he put his diatribes into his work. But that's what comics is about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In Marvel news, AntMan and the Wasp came out this week. Wonder if I get your quick, non-spoilery reaction to that.
I really liked it. I mean, it's the same vein if you saw the first one, but as we were saying before, is like Paul Rudd has a very specific kind of humor, which is different from what was done in Thor, or even Deadpool. Deadpool's like Mad Magazine. The Thor stuff was kind of almost like Spider-Man, snappy patter taken to the extreme. Paul Rudd's got more of a wry thing, and a lot of it is set up, and some interesting expression on his face, and then a line or whatever. So, but I thought the cast was great. It was really cool to see the Wasp be at like pretty much center stage.
Nice.
And she does most of the fighting. This no spoiler, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And lastly, con season is upon us. Wondering if you could, people know where they can find you this summer.
Well, in August I'll be at Terrificon up at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and then I just booked Baltimore Con for, I think it's in September. And Baltimore was a lot of fun last year. I went the first time, enjoyed myself. It's a nicely run show, and like Terrificon, when you walk in, you feel it's a comic book vibe. It's not a media show or I mean, nothing against those, but they have a specific kind of vibe, and when you go to a show like that, you know that you're not the necessary star, or you're not the destination. Like I went to Ace Comic Con, and Ace Comic Con was fun, and it was, they had a great media guest list, but in a way that takes away from the comic stuff. It also takes people in a different section of where they're doing the photography that are no longer wandering around to buy books or to get sketches or whatever. So there's an impact there, but that's what it's fun to do, more of an old-fashioned comic show.
Definitely.
And you have a better chance of meeting people that you haven't seen in a long time. I've been in comics since 1980 actually, summer of '80. So it's a long time, and there's people that I met years and years ago that I just don't see, except if I see them on a guest list. I mean, I was at Heroes Con, and Heroes had a few people that I'd never met, which is always fun. I always love meeting, the younger artists, and of course now younger artists could be anybody under 60. But I also got to see Pat Broderick, and Pat is somebody I shared a studio with back in the mid '80s.
Cool.
And he and I kind of fell out of touch just because he's living in Florida and I'm in Connecticut. But that's what the shows are fun for. After people see you working at a show, but then the minute the show is over, you kind of hope to connect with people over dinner or beer or something like that, because that most of us work in our houses, so it's a kind of solitary thing. So when you're at a show, the idea of having people, oh look, there's so and so at the bar or whatever. And at Terrificon, the nice thing is that there's most of the guests are staying in the casino at the hotel, and you have a mall and restaurants. There's a lot of restaurants, but generally it's easier to just bump into somebody.
Definitely.
And sometimes it's somebody that you never met. You just go, oh hey,
Definitely.
A couple of years ago was Sam Jones, Flash Gordon.
I got an email.
Yeah, I was going to say he was sitting in the restaurant having breakfast, and it's just kind of fun. It makes you feel a little bit like you're more a part of that, even with the media stuff. You're not, okay, here's the comic part, here's the media stuff. With Terrificon, there's not a separation. You'd walk through and you could see, oh, there's the stars of Iron Fist, and they're signing, and you're 10 feet away from them, and they're right outside the artist's room. So it doesn't feel like they've taken them and moved them somewhere rarefied where You know what I mean? That makes it feel like they're part of the show as well. So
Definitely.
whatever they're bringing to it feeds into the, the energy level in the room. But yeah, those are the type of shows that are fun because that's what I remember from going to shows starting in like the late '70s.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Jerry, thank you so much. And everyone, you guys can come meet Jerry at Baltimore Con and Terrificon. That takes place at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. It's always a great show. And like Jerry said, it's a great atmosphere for comic book people. You get to meet the writers, artists, and if you're in the media, we also got those people there as well.
Get the Punisher. The Punisher is going to be there. John Bernthal. Also from The Walking Dead. He's the big media guest, I guess. But he's got like a lot of other good people too.
Definitely. And for more info on Terrificon, you can go to, I believe it's Terrificon.com, right? Yeah. And follow them at Terrificon.
He's on, right, it's Terrificon on Twitter. He's all over the place. Instagram. The other thing, there's a secret. I won't give it away, but there's a secret event that Mitch is planning for Terrificon that I think will be really cool, tied into Superman's birthday.
Awesome. To find out what that is, come to Terrificon, guys.